try to figure out what is a common ground between biology and the election this year. And I came to the conclusion that I had to do my assignment on one Mr. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and his little brain parasitic worm. Something that I've been wanting to like really figure out what was actually going on there. This is important because we live in a society that is very information heavy. That information is very lucrative and valuable when it comes to things as influential and important to people's daily lives as the election. That gives them an incentive to twist the narrative, make it more punchy, and mislead people to make them think that they're in a worse situation than they actually are. I wanted to take the news source that I go to most times, which is CNN, and I wanted to scrutinize that, like how good are they about using biology, using scientific fact. So I found this helpful chart from the American Council on Science and Health. Compares how scientifically accurate and how like misleading different news sources are. CNN is right here. They're kind of in the mix of like analysis, but they lean more towards evidentially based, which is obviously very important when it comes to things like biology and science. Another thing that I wanted to make note of is that CNN, in comparison to like New York Times and ABC and especially Fox News, instead of just saying that like RFK had a worm in his brain, it was more wordy, it was more verbose, but I think it was a lot more accurate and it was a lot more detailed. The keepers that I wanted people to take away from this article was that it was Robert F. Kennedy. He experienced a medical abnormality in 2010. He said it is fact at this point. Keeper 2, the information came from a divorce deposition. I don't know why he would lie about it, but it gives more validity because he was under oath in a deposition, so there was a lot of incentive for him not to lie. This gets into the campaign's response. They made it very clear that the issue was over 10 years ago. It's obviously a campaign's job to make a candidate seem better. They have every reason to lie about things like that, so we can't really take that at face value. Dr. Peter Hotez, an infectious disease expert and dean for the National School of Tropical Medicine. So essentially they got a person who's like, this is their entire job. Like, so he basically said that the most common thing that people with diseases like this is that there's going to be seizures. So we can use that in the future, like if RFK is confirmed to be taking anti-seizure medication, then we can compare that to what his campaign said, and we can realize like maybe the campaign wasn't being as honest as we thought. And Keeper 5 was that there was also a detail on the podcast of mercury poisoning that RFK experienced at the same time. This didn't get nearly as much radio play, but you don't associate it with cognitive effects like you would a brain worm, a worm that was eating your brain. That's really important for someone who is potentially going to be our next president. And then for opposing viewpoints, I use this website called Ground News. It's I love it. It like compares the biases between like left-leaning newspapers and like news organizations and then right-leaning news organizations. So it was the story was pretty evenly reported among both sides. Just it also like shows how the different sides of the political spectrum reported on it. The left was a lot more likely to seek outside qualified opinions like Dr. Hotez, but the right was a lot more willing to take Kennedy and his campaign's words at face value, that he is like completely recovered from it. I thought that was a really, really interesting way to look at like not just CNN, but also like how all of the different like news organizations reported on this specific story. And my multiple choice question was, what are the most likely side effects of having a parasitic brain worm, like was the case with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. in 2010? My answers are Alzheimer's disease. There's no effects at all that we know of. A concussion or increased seizures.